And Brad, less than 24 hours from now, we have already taken the green flag for the final race of the season, where you'll be competing for your first NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship. Maybe just talk about your thoughts right now.
Yeah, sure, not a problem, Commander. Well, I'm still in a focused race mode, so I don't know if I got a lot of thoughts, but I think our car is pretty good, and we probably have enough speed to control some of our destiny, at least that in which it is controllable. So I'm really proud of that and the effort that we've had, and just ready to get it on.
Take questions now. Let's start with Reed, and we'll come over here to Lewis, and then go to Joe.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. How does it feel to be on the front row, and how hard are you going to try to lead that first lap?
Well, I certainly wasn't expecting to be on the front row for this weekend's race. It's a little bit different for sure than what we've been used to, but it's different in a good way for us. It's unfortunate what happened to Joey and those guys. I still haven't seen a really good replay to understand that, but obviously it's a good place to go, and I'm going to do what I can to lead the first lap, and I think we have the car to do it.
Let's go over here to Lewis to the right, and then we'll go to Joe Menzer. Go ahead, yes. Lewis.
Yep. Lewis, Frank, Reuters, and Speed Week, reaching for something that hasn't been asked this week. But have you discussed with Paul, do you want to hear where Jimmy is during the race? Have you discussed talking about where he is?
No, I haven't had those discussions. I've been more focused on just producing the most amount of speed possible in our car, and then we'll worry about those things later. I really haven't thought about it. I just know if I run well enough, it doesn't matter.
Over here to Joe to the left.
Joe Menzer, NASCAR.com. Brad, do you have to kind of walk a fine line there between getting too aggressive on that first lap or two and then wanting to get the bonus point?
Yeah, I mean, that's every race, whether you're in the points or not. I've got got a great car. I've got a car that I can run up front and lead laps. I'm proud of that. And if I can take the lead without wrecking myself, that's what I'm going to try and do.
Go over to Steve Richards, and then we'll go to Jenna and then Dwight. Go ahead, Steve.
With PRN, Brad, I know Paul says that you go by feel of the race car more than the speed charts, things like that. How does the balance feel? How does your car feel compared to when it's felt when you've won races, had top 5, top 3 cars?
I think this car is driving very similar to what I had at Texas and Chicago, and those were 2 very strong races for us, Steve. So I think pretty good. It's got comparable speed and comparable feel. I certainly could always be better. And as a race car driver, that's your goal, to find that last little bit to be drastically better than everyone else. I don't think we are drastically better than everyone else. So that's my focus, is trying to find it if it's out there. But from the standpoint of how we compare to other places, I think we compare rather well.
Take a question from Jenna, and then we'll go Dwight, Lee, and Gary.
Jennifer, AP. I know I'm just a part-timer, so this is maybe I'm just picking up on this. I've noticed, and maybe I noticed it for the first time last weekend, sometimes when Paul asks you things, you answer him that you'll tell him when you get back to the garage, and you said it again today. Is that because you don't want others to hear your answer?
Maybe.
Maybe.
When it comes to decision making, I subscribe to the belief that you take the most amount of time possible, or that's available to you, in order to make the most informed and credible decision. And when he asks me things, he's basically asking for me to make a decision on what I think about the car, and I'm going to take as much time as needs to, or need be, to make the smartest decision.
Let's go to Dwight, Gary, and then Lee.
Dwight Durham, Racestake.com. Brad, fans like the behind-the-scenes type happenings and that kind of thing. Could you explain what it's like to go to sleep? Do you sleep well a night before a big championship race like this?
I don't know. I've never been for a big championship night like this, so I'm going to say I will, yeah. I'm going to eat a big meal and probably have a beer and fall easily asleep, I imagine. I sleep pretty well.
Let's go Gary Long and then Lee Spencer. Go ahead, Gary.
Brad, both practices were pretty eventful. Was the track different today, or was there anything about it that caused so much action? There were a lot of spins and, well, you know, scraping the wall.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why that was the case. It's a great question, though, from the standpoint that I think this was, you know, one of the most action-packed practice sessions I've seen in a long time. But I don't know why that is the case. Obviously, the cars are certainly on edge, but, you know, they usually are. That's usually what makes for a fast car, so I don't see them being drastically different. So I don't have a great answer for you. You know, I guess the only perspective I have to that point is, you know, I think the majority of the field, this is the last race for this particular car, and I would expect them to really not care if it got brought back in one piece. You know, I think we've seen that in the history of these series. The last race on any particular car seems to always have a lot of carnage, and certainly I'm very cognizant of that as well.
Let's go Lee, David, and then we may end with Monty. Go ahead, Lee.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. So what is the game plan tonight? I mean, what are you going to do? How are you going to relax? I mean, thankfully, tomorrow's a late race, and so you could sleep late, which you usually do anyway. But, I mean, how are you going to spend the next, 12 hours?
Tweeting, yeah, possibly. Well, I don't plan on relaxing much other than maybe tweeting. I plan on doing a lot of focusing on what I need to get the job done, whether that's with the parts and componentry that combines itself in the car to make the most speed and efficiency, or the decisions I need to make inside of it. Other than that, I don't really plan on doing much relaxing. I plan on focusing.
Let's go David Newton.
Hey, Brad, David Newton, ESPN.com. We're talking to Richard Petty this morning, and he was saying that in all likelihood, this is not going to come down to, Keselowski versus Jimmy Johnson. It's going to come down to fate. Do you believe that?
Well, I think we have enough speed in our car to where that's probably the case, yeah. It's going to come down to whether it was meant to be or not meant to be. It's going to come down to if there's a wreck in front of you or something of that nature to probably be our undoing. And if that happens, then that's just, like I said before, a force majeure act of God. So if that's the case, then you just roll it off and move on.
Let's go Monty, and we'll take final question from Mark Long. Go ahead, Monty.
Monty, I as Jimmy has said, he has nothing to lose, and I don't know what he has said in the last few minutes, but I found it kind of amusing that he's basically gone from Denny Hamlin to Will Power. I'm expecting Bill Buckner and Truman and Dewey maybe today. But what is your basic reaction? I mean, do you laugh at it? Or, or you just ignore it? I know how much you read, so I doubt you ignore it.
No, I haven't ignored it, but I certainly laugh at it because I think if we could trade places, he would in a heartbeat.
Mark Long, final question down here.
Mark Long with AP. You said you don't really necessarily care where Jimmy is or knowing where Jimmy is during the race. What about Clinton, Jeff? You think you might want to know where those guys are?
You want me to go through the list?
Sure.
Wow,
sure.
Geez, there's a whole bunch of people that seem to be very angry at each other as of late. I don't know how you pick just one or one pairing. Like I said, if that happens, it happens, and it's nothing I can control.
Brad, thanks for coming in. Thanks for being with us this weekend. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.